Welcome to Off With Their Headlines. I am your co-host, Amanda Matta, here with the ethereal Meredith Constant.
Stop it.
It is summer. She is glowing, relaxed.
I was going to say it's just the drugs, but that's not what I meant. What I meant to say is it's just all the serums and everything like that.
I was going to say, did you make a trip to New York to visit this rumored plastic surgeon that's doing all of these untraceable facelifts on the celebrities? No?
Listen,
it's just serums.
Our podcast isn't bringing in that kind of money. I don't know what you're making.
And if you want to help Meredith get her facelift. No, just kidding. Just kidding. She doesn't need a facelift.
If you'd like to help Meredith get the substance.
But we do have a Patreon page where we just posted our summer mailbag. So that will be linked in the description. It is patreon.com/offwiththeirheadlines. And the mailbag, the Q&A content, that is free for all patrons, whether you join at a paid tier or just to join, just to be part of the community. So go check that out. But today we have a very fun episode. We actually sat down with a guest who you will hear from in the second half of the recording today. But first, Meredith, I believe you have, what did you say to me? You have a rant that I will enjoy.
Listen, if you have followed me for a while, you know that the author of that piece is someone that comes bubbling up every once in a while. She used to write for the Telegraph's Royal Appointment. That was my first foray into the Royal Appointment, where I first discovered it when she wrote that maybe Prince William pushing Prince Harry into a dog bowl and breaking it was kind of rugged and sexy. Wow. And I said, let me learn more. Kind of wish I didn't. And she's also the author of the Grenfell Cooking Kitchen, Meghan Markle Mosque linked to terrorism that I spent months ripping apart because it wasn't a good argument. I'm sorry. It wasn't a good argument. I'm not sorry. Not sorry about what I said. I was just trying to correct the record on behalf of immigrant, mostly Muslim women who lost everything in a fire and then had to deal with terrorism accusations connected to the Duchess of Sussex because of a strange vendetta that the author of that piece has against this woman. Anyway, Meghan Markle, Meghan Sussex, on the day of Lilibet's birth, dropped it like it's hot. She dropped a video of the baby mama dance, which is a dance actually that had been going around the internet around that time. These viral videos of mothers dancing their way into induced labor are nothing new, but it's the Duchess doing it. So obviously we are going to have the very predictable reactions from the media. It is literally just a video of Meghan dancing. She's looking at Harry off camera. Harry comes in and does his moves. It's very funny.
Oh my God. Harry was
kind
my
of adorable.
Part. Yeah.
It's so cute. She's mouthing the words to it. If you don't turn on the video, if you don't watch it, if you don't listen to the lyrics, if you only look at stills, you could take this any which way. So the author of that piece came out of semi-royal retirement to discuss this in an op-ed. And this is what we had to say about it. So of course, the piece is just stills of the dance in some of the most, quote unquote, filthy moves, when Meghan is quite low and her butt is kind of popped out. And here is how it's described. It's described as Meghan doing a sexy slut drop while lip syncing to the camera. It makes it sound like Meghan was simulating oral sex and dancing to I want to sex you up or something. Yeah. Which honestly, when is there a better time to be sex positive than when you're about to give birth? If we're really thinking about it, there's no better time to be sex positive, when in reality, it is far from that. And this is the kind of rhetoric that we know inflames, we know plays to this audience for the Telegraph, which is a whiter, more conservative kind of audience in the UK. And it's the kind of language that the author of that piece knows will have some people crying. This kind of feels like it's has a bit of misogynoir tinge to it, which is misogyny and racism combined to make the delightful combination of
the favorite brew of Piers Morgan as well, who I think weighed in a similar manner.
It's the favorite IPA of certain royal commentators ever. Yeah. And the thing is, though, and this is what's always really annoyed me, is that happens, and then it quickly becomes about, oh my gosh, people are calling me, the author of the piece, racist or misogynistic for writing this. But it's like, no, people are having issues with the writing and the intent behind that writing, which is to inflame and start these kind of conversations. So don't hide your hands or, send late night paragraphs long DMs,
to internet sleuths.
If you can't handle it, allegedly. So it is just the kind of article that you would expect from the British media. And here's what I wish we could do.
Mhm.
This would never happen, but this is on Meredith's wish list. The piece does say at the end that this was really like a two-fingered salute to all of the hateful trolls online. So you're like, oh, she's kind of, actually bringing up the fact that there are these hateful rumors out there about Meghan never being pregnant. And then she goes, yeah, an elephant never forgets. And maybe this, helps Meghan understand how Kate felt when Meghan talked about Kate's hormones allegedly in Spare.
Huh?
Yeah. Is she comparing
Wait, elephants never forget.
Is she comparing like the consistent racist rumors about her never being pregnant with her trying to console Kate allegedly?
When she said she had baby brain and like
Yeah.
it was okay that she forgot something and Kate allegedly got very upset. My headcanon for that is that
What?
Kate was confused and didn't know what baby brain was. And she thought Meghan was just saying like, you have a baby's brain. That's like why I think she was so offended.
That's such an easy explanation too. But it would be so much more interesting, not that anyone will ever do this, but to actually talk about the way these rumors perpetuate. And despite yet another video, the first thing I thought when I saw that video was, I can't wait for someone to freeze frame her hand under her bump, which is shaped in a certain way because the baby's laying kind of more horizontal. So her bump takes on a different shape, or the fact that she's wearing wireless monitors, which apparently the NHS doesn't have because no one seems to understand them. And we're going to get more conversations about how this is all fake and it's going to continue. And it's so gross and out of control. And that an op-ed like this in the Telegraph doesn't do anything to actually dispel those rumors. All it does is say, hey, these rumors exist, by the way.
It's just a way to capitalize on the trending topic and get people to click on your outlet because you're also talking about it. And I'm so tired.
It feels it feels like low-hanging fruit for an op-ed or, a sexy slut drop, I guess.
Okay, so I was thinking when you told me that they said sexy slut drop, why in this episode, spoiler alert, there will be another mention of a slut drop. And the two things are not related.
I know.
Did she listen in on our recording with our guest?
I cannot understand how that happened because when I saw that was never a phrase I had heard, and then I saw
now
it again
in this episode twice.
I said, "You have to be kidding me!"
For two different, we'll get there.
Can't explain it.
Maybe I should just let the people know they read the title of this episode. Let me say right now, we are speaking to Shannon from the Fluently Forward podcast today about royal blind items, which we get into it. It's a very unique way that royal rumors and gossip and celebrity rumors and gossip spread, how people can discuss them online. Don't worry, we have a better definition for you if you've never heard of blind items. But in the spirit of this, we did also want to discuss two royal rumors that are in the media sphere right now. The first one, sorry, Meredith, also involves a report by that writer. She buried it in a longer piece, which it was so hard to read, from the Telegraph, called Why Harry's Hopes for Reconciliation with the King Are Doomed. On the anniversary of the Sussexes' biggest snub, it appears unlikely that the Duke will ever be welcomed back with open arms. And it's just a rehashing of every slight that Harry and Meghan have apparently done against the monarchy.
Wait, what anniversary? What's the anniversary?
The final straw in the Megxit saga happened 4 years ago this week, when the monarch had defended her family against the Oprah interview. She doesn't even know.
What?
Wait, it wasn't. The final blow came 3 months later on June 4th when the Sussexes announced their newborn daughter would be named Lilibet. I don't know why that's the final
Oh, that's
blow.
so tacky because it's the only way to tie it in to right now to be able to write this thing.
Yeah, so they talk about the twerking video, but then it's like back rehashing the false assertion that the Queen had given her blessing to use the name Lilibet. And then it's like legal threats against the BBC. Oh, that tells us about Harry's interview with the BBC he did recently, where he talks about his father not having long to live. Oh, by the way, she just drops this little nugget in here. The talk is that King Charles may die with cancer, but not of cancer, following a rigorous treatment program. This is buried in the middle of this rehashing of Harry and Meghan's sins. Tom Sykes picked it up, this man. He turned it into an article for the Daily Beast titled, King Charles' Cancer is Incurable, Bombshell Report Suggests. Now, the report is just that author, Camilla Tominey. I don't think we've said her name one time.
Oh, no, don't say her name because then it'll come up.
Because
No, because then it'll come up in Google search and stuff.
We won't say it more than that. That's who said it.
Yeah, because if you say it 3 times.
We won't say it 3 times. She won't come out of the walls.
She appears in a mirror.
Her statement in her piece is being taken as a report. She also suggests that a reconciliation might be considered because of the negative impact the narrative of estrangement is having on the king's reputation. There's an awareness that the impasse cannot continue forever, not least if it starts to reflect badly on the king.
Okay, I have a lot of thoughts. Number 1, starts to reflect badly. Number 2, nowhere in there is the idea that, I don't know, perhaps if he is nearing death, that maybe he would like to reconcile with his youngest son. Right. Also, Prince Harry didn't say his father didn't have long to live. He has no idea how much longer his father has.
Correct.
But also, the whole thing around that time was that, well, Camilla says he's fine. So what is Harry trying to start? The other thing is, what are we qualifying as a report?
Well, exactly. The report is just the author of that piece saying it out loud. Tom Sykes says the report essentially confirms long-standing rumors that the king's cancer is considered manageable but ultimately incurable, which is the case for many older individuals afflicted by the disease. Separate paragraph. Charles is 76. End paragraph. He says the report will be unwelcomed in the palace as it will reignite speculation that the king's health is in a delicate state. Rumors that were rekindled with Prince Harry in his BBC interview. But Charles' aides have consistently briefed reporters that he is, broadly speaking, winning his battle against cancer, and the king himself recently said he was on the other side of the health crisis. So then he says, the report by the respected royal writer and associate editor of the UK Daily Telegraph, respected, not in this house, also claimed that Charles will never move into Buckingham Palace due to his health struggles. Buckingham Palace is also being refurbished. So, yeah, we knew that. Thank you so much.
I think it might be for other reasons in Charles' defense.
Yeah. And the talk is that he may die with cancer, but not of cancer, following a rigorous treatment program.
How can you know that? Are you a psychic? And also, a lot of people with cancer die with cancer, but it's actually getting an infection after a surgery, or their immune system is so weakened that they get pneumonia or something like that. Yes.
Thank you.
What? So here's what I'm thinking about from the royal commenter standpoint. So this goes out in an article by a woman who isn't writing all the time about royals anymore, right? She's writing about royals, but not all the time. It's kind of slipped in there, but it's something, it's been a topic of a conversation around royal circles about how Charles is really doing versus what the palace is saying. And I think that they have been waiting for an opportunity to have something in the media for other outlets to latch onto and attribute to this piece. We're not saying it. This report suggests, we're not saying it's true. We're just saying that this report suggests that Charles will die of cancer, or maybe not. We don't know. But we want to remind you that he's old and maybe he's not doing as well. Also, we've had a lot of profiles recently on what King William will be like. And then I'm thinking, who would have put this information out there? Because it benefits William, right? It does benefit William and William's camp. I also wonder the kind of sourcing that the author of that piece currently has.
Yeah, I mean, she says the talk now is that he'll die with cancer, but not of cancer. And it's just like, okay, so did you get enough people to tell you a rumor that you felt comfortable printing it? Because I know what that feels like. But I'm not a highly respected royal author and associate editor.
Yes. And let's not forget that during the BBC documentary about the princes in the press, when she discussed getting the scoop that Meghan was dating Harry, and she said that she got the scoop, she knew it was correct, and Amal Rajan said, well, where'd you get it from? And she's like, not going to tell. And then he asked the question she wasn't ready for, which was, well, did you go to the palace to confirm? She goes, nope. And I was like, well,
why wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it just kind of makes you wonder where we are getting things from. Remember, there are other households that are trying to get out information to hide information about their own principals, or people that have information from other sleuths or private investigators that are trying to offload it to someone else because either they can't publish it or they don't want to run with the story. So it does make you wonder how this information, which is going around royal circles, made it in this particular piece.
I wonder if the palace would actually want this about Charles to be out there, because if we make it clear that his cancer is never going to be cured, we're never going to get that announcement that he's in remission. There's a convenient, it happened with Queen Elizabeth, dealing with some ongoing mobility issues. William can step up today. But we never necessarily have to say like Charles is relapsed or anything. It's just kind of this standing, I don't want to say excuse, but alternative reason for if he ever has to leave the scene.
It's changing the baseline, right? It's changing what the baseline of health means for Charles.
Yes. Good point. Good point. So that was one rumor I wanted to address. And the other one, much more exciting, I would say, David Beckham. Recently turned 50, recently spotted just grinning ear to ear at the Chelsea Flower Show, wearing a rose named after the king, is apparently set to be awarded his knighthood at long last. He has been chasing this, I want to say, since 2011. Yes,
this has been a very embarrassing campaign for knighthood. I have a question.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know a ton about David Beckham. What I know, I learned from the documentary on David Beckham, which was a very interesting look at the media coverage of David Beckham. Why is he so obsessed with this?
Well,
why do you think? Besides, I get that it's a big deal. Like, please don't get me wrong. I understand it's a big deal, but why is he so pursuant of it?
I think he has this complex, and maybe rightfully earned, that he is a global ambassador on behalf of, the British sports sector. He was a football captain. He was made an OBE, Order of the British Empire member or whatever, in 2003. So I think that probably got under his skin a little and said, okay, I'm in this royal fold. The next step is a knighthood. And he was indeed nominated for one in 2011. He did not get it. There was something to do with taxes not being paid. And once he got that squared away by 2017, he was allegedly criticizing the system that appoints people to knighthoods and the honors system in general. Emails were leaked, which he claimed were hacked, doctored, and then private. So first they were doctored, not real. Then they were hacked and private, and how dare you. But in these emails, he was criticizing the committee and one woman in particular. I think she was a classical singer who had a history of drug abuse. And he said, for what? For abusing cocaine and all that. And it was just a profanity laden email he was sending to his management team. It was bad. Look it up. So that happened in 2017. I think, again, disqualified him for a few years until that blew over. In 2014, he became an ambassador for the King's Foundation, supporting Charles' education program and efforts to ensure that young people have a greater understanding of nature. So this is not the Jobs program. That is something different. That's another King's Foundation. He's also a league owner, a league co-owner in the US. So he's got a lot going for him. Remember, too, and this is when people really started to think that the campaign for a knighthood was picking up. Remember when the Queen died and David Beckham stood in that queue for no reason for 13 hours because other celebrities were fast-tracked to pay their respects to the Queen who was lying in state. He decided instead to stand in a queue for 13 hours. There were selfies. There were people tweeting about, what a nice, normal guy he was. That is part of the campaign as well.
That is dedication.
I mean, yes.
I have to give credit for that grift. That is dedication.
So now he is allegedly being named to this knighthood in the King's birthday honors, which are annual appointments. Now, we don't know how this got leaked. A government spokesperson said, "We do not comment on speculation on honors." Beckham's representatives also declined to comment, but it got leaked, right? If he is on this list, which happens sometimes. Richard Palmer has already written a piece saying, his knighthood might be in jeopardy because it was leaked. And that's really bad form. I think at this point, they have to give it to him. Charles and Camilla wished him happy 50th birthday. They sent him a gift by mail. He went to the flower show. All these things, it's leading up to this knighthood. And for Victoria Beckham, she will now become Lady Beckham. I better not see anyone call her Lady Victoria. That is not how we use these titles. She would be Lady Beckham. Meredith.
I think at a certain point when you have everything, it's those intangibles. It's those things that you really can't buy that you want, especially when you earn so much at such a young age, and especially in British society. Those titles, those honors are so significant and really set you apart from just other celebrities or extremely wealthy individuals. So, and is that one of the reasons, and I don't really know a lot about this, that they have been seen to quote unquote snub Harry and Meghan or distance themselves perhaps? Does that play into this? I don't know.
I don't think it's anything he's done that has led to that. I think it's more the media knowing that this knighthood campaign has been underway, thinking, of course he's going to snub Harry and Meghan. Of course that's the quote unquote side he and Victoria Beckham are going to be on because he wants this knighthood so bad. And the Brooklyn Beckham story,
which we talk about in our summer mailbag.
Yeah, I think that is like existing in the same universe as these conversations, but I don't necessarily think that the two are like related.
It's another one of those rumors and just how these blind items make them into reports. And what I love about our conversation with Shannon, which we'll get into, is that she also talks about the responsibility of individuals to use media literacy and to dig further. And she even shows how she does it with some of these blind items. And it's a really good time. It's super fun. She is fantastic.
She's wonderful.
I think you guys are going to really love this conversation.
I just want to say before we roll the tapes, this was a great conversation. I would encourage you to keep those media literacy hats on because some of the topics we get into, of course, include the affair rumors and the so-called Prince of Pegging rumors. And this is also not a conversation you will want to listen to around young ears. It is, I'm going to have to put a content warning, explicit rating on this episode. But also just remember, like, we did not start these rumors. We are allowed to discuss them because they're out there. And I think it's fun to have these conversations in good faith and have a lighthearted time discussing them. At the end of the day, who knows if any of this is true? Shannon herself even says that. But I think the ecosystem in which these blind items get put out and dissected is so interesting. So I was really, really glad to get to pick her brain about it.
I also always love talking to someone who's not in the royal stuff all the time. It's always fun to get their reaction to this when they're not concerned about people coming down on them from either side.
Welcome to the pod, Shannon from the Fluently Forward podcast. Shannon, I love your show because it's not just current events and celebrity news. It's the gossip. It's the dirt. It's the theories. You're not afraid to just speculate and give your opinion. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you guys so much. I'm so excited to talk with you, especially because I feel like pop culture, you have the royals, you have reality TV, you have the singers, the actors. There's so many different facets to it. And you guys are such subject matter experts on everything royal. So I'm so excited to dive into the dirt with you.
We certainly do our best, and it does intersect with broader celebrity culture much more than people want to think it does, talking about the royals. Meredith is not a royal person. She just loves picking apart headlines.
I know. I love nosing around. I got into this because, and I know that this is blind items you've talked about. I got into this because I didn't understand how the British media, who, never lack of facts stop them from exploring a story, suddenly just turned up their nose and looked the other way at a little potential turnip-toff scandal involving the Marchioness of Cholmondeley, Rose Hanbury. And that's how I actually started digging into things and trying to understand why they suddenly weren't interested in looking into a story of a potential alleged maybe affair falling out of friendships, whatever, who knows. People were not too happy about that. And yeah, there's a weird thing where people do not want to hear that royals are celebrities because that is somehow beneath them. And Meghan she's an actress, was such a slur against her when she entered the royal world. Like, having a job was a bad thing.
Yes.
Like, what?
it's all I'm with you. It's all the linguistics of everything. Is she welcomed? Is she entering? Is she being invited? Like, all of these words that people use really craft a narrative. And I've always thought it would be so fun to intern for like the New York Post or the Daily Mail, because I'm like, are they just as evil in like the internal emails and conferences as they are in what they post? Or do they know that it's a farce, or do they believe it? Like, I'm just absolutely fascinated by tabloid culture and so many people who just take it and run with it. And I mean, I've done that. You know, we all fall into it, but it's funny how we look back at the magazines of Y2K era and we're like, those are crazy. But the headlines that come out today, we're like, well, that's all fine, you know?
I would love to know what goes on at especially the Daily Mail. It's like, does the intern submit a piece that is acceptable, totally normal, and then somebody just takes a machete to it, chops it up, makes it as sensational as possible? I mean, you even see it in like the supermarket shelves here. Us Weekly is a magazine like I contributed to very recently. I gave them some very neutral quotes on, I think it was Princess Charlotte turning 10. And I was just like, well, according to reports, she's like really good at Spanish class. She likes scary movies. And then in the final cut in the magazine, it was like, an insider told us. And I'm just like, I'm not an insider. What are we doing?
what?
I feel like that one slipped through the cracks. But
also the
it's
fact
fun.
that they asked for a quote about a 10-year-old, it's just like so
Right.
freaking
I
fun.
was like,
It's not funny, but it is funny, you know?
I'm just going to rephrase everything that's already out there for you because you clearly need like a name to attribute to quotes, but I don't know.
But I wonder if you were like, oh, she does cocaine and has orgies, you know, like would they run it?
I wouldn't have said that about a 10-year-old, but I have thought like I could say whatever I want and they would just be like, ooh, an insider told us this.
What are they going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, with great power comes great responsibility, which unfortunately most people do not wield responsibly. And there was a whole article or a study that was done by the Press Gazette over in the UK where hundreds and hundreds of articles had to be pulled because of fake inside sources and royal experts where it was just made up information. It just wasn't correct. So there's so many of these articles out there, but like once the information's out there, you can't put it back. You know, it's not going to go back on the bottle, not with how media illiterate we are these days and with how fast news moves. So you're just not going to get that back.
Totally. I feel like every institution has kind of been, people are losing their trust in everything, but then you see other institutions start to replace it, which is why blind items and rumors are taken as like, this is the source of truth because it's no longer, you know, in style or something like that. And it's like, there's still rumors.
Research.
My research
and
on
how do you
Reddit.
balance that? I really wanted to ask you about that because that's the thing. Like I see a blind item and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this because it sounds so juicy and like, what if and plausible and what do I do with this and how do I not allow it to become something that I quote as truth when I don't actually know? Like, how do I handle the blind item?
Yeah, it's so hard to say, but sometimes you have different, you know, for example, I have different people in my life who work in Hollywood. So sometimes I'm able to like bounce things off of them. Like, hey, have you heard this about this person? Does everyone think this guy is creepy? And that can kind of give me insight. I think then you can also follow it up with other things too. Like if it's a singer and there's a blind item about them being in an abusive relationship, like does that line up with the lyrics? Like sometimes even the blind items could probably be crafted by a fan, you know, reading into the lyrics. Or if I don't know, one person is bearding with another person. Like the blind items always forget that bisexual people exist. So anytime there's a blind item being like, he's gay, just kidding. He was hooking up with 3 different women this weekend. It's like, okay, well, he's probably bi. Like I'm sure most people in Hollywood are. So you can sometimes skirt around the corners to see things. There's also very interesting, I think Michael Sheen, like the blind items paint him out to be such a nasty guy who's hooked up with so many women, which is crazy. But then if you go through and you read interviews and how his exes refer to him, it kind of does seem to be true. But some of them are off the wall. There was one blind item about Will Arnett, like leaving his baby in a car so he could go hook up with a college girl. And I was like, I don't know if the baby was left in the car.
It seems pretty serious.
That's wild.
Or maybe
but also,
was,
like, would Amy
you know?
Poehler go like do a podcast with him if you know
I left a
in a
baby in the
car.
car. So some of these ones you read it and you're like, maybe that was a creative fiction writing sample that somebody sent in. But usually it sometimes lines up. And then it's interesting because I just did an episode on the TV show You, and the actress Anna Camp, who was in Pitch Perfect, is now dating a woman. And there were all of these blind items throughout the years. She's in a lavender marriage. She's secretly gay. And if I had recorded the episode 2 months ago, I would have been like, all these blind items are calling her gay and she's not. And now she's dating a woman. So I'm like, oh, sometimes time does reveal if the blind items over the years are true or not.
So what I love about this that I didn't consider is that you can be your own sleuth and take the blind item and then go back and see, does this actually line up with everything that I've seen and everything that I've read? Like, what can I deduce from all of this?
And then things connect, right? So now that Anna Camp is dating a woman, Skylar Astin, the Pitch Perfect co-star that she married, maybe he'll be coming out in a couple of months because that, it gives credence to that blind item. Who knows? I think everyone's bisexual, but the blind items do not.
It lends such a rich landscape to celebrity gossip, which I think back in the day, in the, 40s, 50s, 60s, where we weren't online at all, regular gossip would have been doing this work. But now we have the blind item on the internet kind of supplementing because we're also like physically disconnected. You don't have to live in Hollywood to be involved in celebrity culture. So just for maybe the uninitiated who are listening to our podcast, because this is the first time we're ever talking about blind items, can you give us a quick rundown on what a blind item is, where does it come from, and then we're going to get into some royal blinds from over the years.
Yeah. So blind items have been around since I think the 1800s. They were put in newspapers, and it was a way to kind of feed gossip about people without actually saying what was going on. So back when the blind items first started, it might have been like, this wife of a elite member in our community has been canoodling with somebody who works at the shoe store or something like that. And you would try to figure out what was going on. And then as time has gone on, they're mostly about celebrities, but you use different clues to figure out what it's about. So if you wanted to say that Justin Bieber is cheating on his wife with Selena Gomez, you would say this A-plus list male pop star from a foreign born country, because he's Canadian, is cheating on his, wife who has A-list name recognition and was previously a Nepo baby because her dad, the Baldwins, and he's cheating on her with his ex who used to be a Disney star but is now an A-list singer. You put it together, you make some guesses, see what's going on with the times, and then you go around and run your mouth and say that Justin is cheating on Haley with Selena. So people submit these to Crazy Days and Nights. NT Lawyer runs that, or they submit it to Dumois, who's kind of taken that over on like the Instagram side. And it's really unfiltered. Anybody can write anything in. I know a lot of people have said I've written in complete trash and it's gotten published. So they are, I'd say maybe 25% of them are maybe true.
Okay. Well, a broken clock's still going to be right twice a day. Sometimes we have to take this as gospel.
Okay, but what sorry, real question, because this is where I feel like I might be getting old. What is going on with Hailey Bieber and Justin Bieber and Selena what is happening here? Is she really single white femaling Selena Gomez? Does Justin Bieber hate his wife? Like, what is happening here?
I think Justin Bieber hates himself, and that just kind of extends out to everything. Because I mean, a lot of people like to look back on Jelena with rose-colored glasses. I do too. Okay, like I know every single photo of them together. Like for some reason, it was an obsession of mine. But he also treated her like dirt. He treats everyone horribly. And I think right now he's really struggling with drugs. There's a lot of rumors that he's bankrupt. I don't think he's bankrupt. I mean, if he wanted to, I just always say he could put out 3 videos on YouTube tomorrow and make $1 million. Like it's not that hard. Or do a brand deal, talk about what toothpaste you use. But I think he's just really struggling with drugs, potential trauma, and he owes Scooter Braun like millions of dollars because he footed the bill for a tour that he didn't finish. So he's been doing public appearances and they keep getting weirder and weirder. And it used to be kind of funny to like dress up as him for Halloween because he always was out like looking insane in public. But now it's kind of, a lot of these celebrity stuffs like Justin Bieber, Kanye West, or Azalea Banks, at first you go, that's crazy. And then you're like, is this going to take a really dark turn? It's strange to see. And like you said, the celebrities of the past, we didn't get access to that. But now everybody has an iPhone, so we see it all.
Right. Does that answer your question, Meredith?
It does. I feel fully up to date. Because there was something, Justin Bieber was just a little bit past what I was listening to. It was what the kids I was coaching on a swim team were listening to.
Right.
And so I knew Justin Bieber through that, but I wasn't really up on the whole Selena, Justin, Haley of it all.
I think he's still hung up on her, but honestly, so am I. Like, I'm still hung up on their relationship and I wasn't even a part of it. And I think Haley is as well, because she's so enmeshed with Justin that anything he's obsessed with, she's going to be obsessed with. And I do think that copying happened, but there are also moments of Selena copying Haley right back, and those aren't talked about as much. It's very Meghan Markle, Kate Middleton, like
A little bit.
one narrative gets pushed, but there's enough evidence for the other side, but that never takes off online. So I think maybe, certain bots could get involved, but the internet has its own narrative. I think it's kind of even on both sides.
Well,
Very
speaking of Meghan and Kate,
interesting. Yeah.
before we get into the blinds, you and I, Shannon, we did an episode where we kind of unpacked Meghan and her introduction to the royal family. You asked me on that episode, do I think it's true that she never Googled Prince Harry? And I didn't really have a good answer for you at the time, but I have since gotten some gossip.
Ooh.
From somebody who runs in those like aristocratic circles. And they told me that Meghan did, of course, as we all do, I think this was our conclusion, she did Google Harry. She did know who he was. She did brush up on her knowledge, but she was told by the palace to lie about it and say that she didn't, because that would, Meredith came up with this theory, like sell the royal love story narrative, the fairy tale, commoner meeting prince story. And then after the fact, when she was kind of hung out to dry, she got so pissed because she was like, what the fuck? You guys told me to lie about this. And now you're just letting me be seen as a liar. So that's the tea I got.
That just hits me in my gut. I know that that's true. Like, I don't need to, and I will start
It
spreading
tracks so
Feels
perfect. If
true.
you think about these, 50-plus-year-old men that are mostly running the show that are like, oh, actually, no, don't tell them you Googled. That's so common.
pedestrian.
So
Yeah.
common.
And the
Don't
way that
say
she
that.
phrased it too was, it was
Is he
just
nice?
yeah, exactly. Like, is he nice? Like, blah, blah, blah. And also, like, Meghan Markle is, at least anyone who's massively hated on by the internet is also kind of plugged into what people are saying about you and others and narratives. And there's no way she would have done that on her own, because who the hell would have believed that? And similar, Haley Bieber has also said about Justin, like, I wasn't a huge fan. And then that
Did
leads
she run
people.
a fan page?
I know that she like met him at a fan meet and greet, and she would like tweet about him and Selena and stuff. So,
I love it.
but it's interesting that once again, maybe she was told that as well, because nobody wants to think you married your stalker. And when people think I Googled someone, they just take it to the extreme.
And see, I think there was a better way to do this. First of all, you spend 2 minutes learning anything about Meghan Markle. You're like, this was the woman who ran the group project, whether you wanted to or not. I mean, she was researching. You think she wasn't going to research her first date when someone was like, well, he's kind of he's like the prince. We can't get into it. You think she's not going to do a little Googling? You kidding me? She's going to Google. The second thing is, I think you position this more as, even if Meghan Googled, like, you can't really get the essence of who Harry is until you meet him. Like, there's only so much, you can't really know him until you meet him. And I just think there was, as usual,
if we had Tree Payne on the team,
if we had Tree Payne on the comms team, things would work differently. But people are always so surprised at how bad palace comms really is.
Or you know what? She also could have been like, oh, I've met people before, and it's obvious that they had Googled me prior to meeting, and it just felt a little bit weird. So I asked a few people about him, but I didn't do online research because I know that doesn't, blah, 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 or something.
But of course she thought, oh, the palace is telling me this. Of course I'm going to trust the palace because they want what's best for me and my
Yeah. I think people used to think, I used to think that the royal palace, like, wow, what like a magnificent pillar beacon of things. And in the past few years, like with the Kate Middleton's disappearance and then Prince Harry's book, I feel like now everyone's like, wah, wah, they're just like, get with the times. Yeah.
Like, this is white trash. I'm sorry. Like, this is trash.
That's one of my favorite videos I've ever done.
You got the uncle that you don't talk about.
Yeah.
Right?
Dogs.
Yeah, too many freaking dogs. Granny won't retire. I mean,
Kids going into the military instead of college.
It's a
trashy
whole.
if you're poor, classy if you're royal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's so true. That's a great point.
But let's get into some royal blind items.
Some of them I think are pretty, like there's tension between Kate and Meghan Markle. And then some of them are much more wild. Like the one that I'm looking at right now is alleging that Prince William and Kate Middleton are distantly related. Had you guys ever heard that one before?
I've heard that. That's definitely a subject of many a Daily Mail article. Oh, they're actually 16th cousins, once removed. And it's usually to make Kate Middleton sound like more noble than just saying she's a commoner.
Interesting.
But what are the blinds saying about Will and Kate being related?
This is one, it's called, they have a title for this one. It's called The Egg. And it says, previously in this space, I put forward the theory that this foreign-born A-plus list couple who are married, so Will and Kate, are actually related to each other because of relatives in the not-too-distant past. Apparently, this couple took those theories even more seriously. Unable to get a straight answer from those who would know, the couple decided not to take any chances with their children. They wanted someone who was definitely not related. This is where it gets interesting. There's no question that the first child from the couple was born via surrogate, allegedly. The sperm was from the father, but the egg was from the woman, allegedly Rose Hanbury, who had an affair with the father. The mother was led to believe that the egg was coming from someone else. In between children, the mother discovered this previously undisclosed fact, and for the most recent child, made sure that the egg was from someone that she wanted and knew. So this is a little scrambled, alleged blind item.
It's a scrambled egg.
Yeah, Rose gave an egg.
So apparently there's more history there than people want to believe with Rose and William, according to this blind item.
Yeah, the blind items about William are just so funny too. Like whether it's him getting pegged via Dumois or like,
oh boy, we'll get into that.
They just make him out to be a total mess, which I think is very funny.
They couldn't just, come on. They have access to every historian DNA person. You wouldn't just, go the route. And also, they could keep the secret.
Oh my God, no, definitely not. And then
really?
also too, I think that it's very interesting how the blind items and gossip get so like talons out about pregnancy and was there a surrogate or was it IVF? It's like, who gives a rip, I mean, it is interesting that celebrities use surrogates at a rate of, what is it, like 5,000 times more than the average person. And they're always like, oh, well, because of my issues, I had to use a surrogate. And it's like, okay,
it's like you didn't have
you wanted
to.
Yeah.
It is this interesting conversation about, because I think Brenda Song had talked about using a surrogate and had said something like, I wouldn't have been able to work. Like it would have, she kind of really bluntly, if I'm remembering this right, said, it would have ruined my career. I have to work. And this is something like men don't have to deal with. And this is something I had to do to ensure that I could continue having my career. And whether you agree with it or not, like that was the decision that she made. And I think that it is this kind of like weird, I don't know, kind of attack on womanhood and something
it's like
about
shades of truth. Because although some women have worked, I know like Zooey Deschanel, certain actresses, they have different clothing, so you can't tell that they're pregnant. But I think for all of this, it's like pointing the finger at women when the real issue is that you should be able to have a child and then come back to work and have that not threaten your career. But instead, it's like, which woman are we going to blame for this, patriarchal problem that's ingrained in all of society?
And even with Meghan, the idea that she and
that's so pervasive.
Yeah, she didn't actually have the children. Part of it is that way you can really discount and disown Harry's children as not
from the line of succession.
From the line of succession. So it has even more to do with that.
Yeah.
And then part of the, releasing photos on their 7th wedding anniversary, to show that, I mean, she's pregnant. There's a bare bump photo, there's a sonogram, but yet that there are people online that will find ways to say,
oh yeah, it's never
that's
enough.
not real. Or
do
you see
they
this
say she rented a toddler to be
I didn't even know you could do that. Listen, Instacart is real good around here,
baby, apparently.
But Montecito has real good Instacart.
Well, and then what's wild is that you do have moments of, remember when Khloe Kardashian photoshopped her baby's face onto another baby for like this Instagram photo.
I forgot about that.
And then I'm sure if you're a celebrity,
weird.
you see something like that happen and you're like, okay, great. Now we're all going to be super scrutinized because you were a weirdo who like photoshopped your child.
I mean, the royals already Photoshop their children because they like want the picture perfect shot every single time. There's a very egregious one with like a baby Princess Charlotte where you can so tell her face is in focus, but her body isn't. And it's just, there's stuff that does for sure happen that's a little shady with the royals, but then there's this stuff in the blinds where it's like, yeah, I don't know if we're A, getting an egg from a woman that Prince William, B, maybe had an affair with, C, not telling Kate because she thought that the egg was coming from someone else, and D, having a surrogate pregnancy and then faking the real pregnancy.
Yeah.
Also, how'd she fake HG?
Seriously.
How'd she fake
Like,
what?
She suffered with hyperemesis gravidarium, that really, really extreme morning
When you are
sickness.
super sick, like in the hospital sick.
It's part of her, story. Every time she had a child was she had to go to the hospital. And that's why they apparently had to announce it so early in her first pregnancy, because she was at the hospital with this and the press picked up on it, basically.
I just had a terrible thought. If I was faking pregnancy, though, I would fake the thing that would allow me to not have to do anything.
Well, it's interesting because even in
She's
this
not
blind
faking
item,
it.
right? Like some things are fiction, but some things could be fact. So what I take out of fact in this blind item is one, I do think that an affair happened with Prince William.
Oh.
Two, I do think that Will and Kate are aware of rumors about them and talk about it and pour into them,
For sure. They are so, not necessarily online, but there was a snapshot one time of them getting out of their helicopter and the door was stuffed with Daily Mail front pages.
They printed it out. That's so boomer.
I mean, they get the print version.
They get them all in the morning. They get the papers and they see who has the front cover. And
I didn't copy.
Realize that there was a hard copy.
Yeah, they get all the
That's
papers.
That's why when people say the Daily Mail is such a rag, it's a tabloid, no one listens to it. It's a hard copy print newspaper in the UK.
Wow. And it's part of the Royal Rota. There are about 10-ish hard copies in print circulating papers and tabloids in the UK that have representatives that follow the British royal family on events, that have access to their comms teams, and they are looking at what they write. And that includes the Daily Mail, the Mirror. So that's why I say, I'm like, if they weren't important, they wouldn't be in the Royal Rota. So until they're ditched, the Daily Mail is kind of important.
It's so embarrassing. That's like when an influencer is caught talking about themselves on Reddit or something. It's like, oh, not the papers of the plane.
It's basically akin to the White House saying, let's invite YouTube influencers, right-wing influencers to ask questions and sit where the AP typically sits. It's kind of like that.
There was also an instance where I remember this because it was really funny at the time. Will and Kate's Instagram page accidentally tagged a fan account instead of an actual account for, I think it was another royal or somebody in the royal fold. So then that they're looking at these fan pages.
Yeah, because they come up as recently searched or something.
Yep. So I just think, they see everything.
A lot of Hailey Bieber, Kate Middleton similarities, honestly. Yeah, I see a lot of that.
So the most famous, I think, blind item as it relates to royal world is, of course, the Prince of Pegging rumor.
Oh my God.
So can you run us through where that came from? Why did it get so much traction?
First of all, I love the alliteration. Maybe he'll be the king of cucking one day.
Oh, God.
This one came from Dumois. And I feel like Dumois, a lot of the gossip is sometimes just coded PR. Sometimes they'll be blind item, this new actress has a makeup line out. And it's okay, that's not a blind item. But some of the stuff is fun. And this was a piece on Dumois that was written in, and it said, quote, "This is so salacious, I'm almost too shook to share with you, but will anyway. This British royal's extramarital affair is an open secret in London and amongst the English artisto set, and is the talk of every party and news deck. At a recent media party, I was told the real reason for the affair was the royal's love of pegging, which his wife is far too old-fashioned to engage with. The wife doesn't mind her, and in fact prefers her husband getting his sexual needs met elsewhere, as long as things don't become emotional, which was the case with the last woman." People started to say Kate Middleton would be way too uptight to peg. So certainly this is about Prince William getting pegged, and that's what's happening in all of the affairs, which at first sounds insane. But I mean, if you are a high-powered man, there's a lot of overlap with you want to be dommed, you're into sometimes diaper play or role playing as a baby because you want someone to take care of you because you're so stressed out. So the idea of him being I just want someone to peg me so I can relax and have somebody take the reins. Who knows? What do you guys think of this rumor?
I mean, psychologically, sure. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I love it because, I go back and forth on the affair and the pro or con columns, outweighing the other. But I love that it just gives us a reason that the affair maybe happened. That's the thing people were kind of looking for, because it's like, oh, well, why would you cheat on Kate? She's so perfect. And it's like, that might be the point. Here, too old-fashioned to engage in what he really likes to do.
Well, I mean, usually when anyone cheats in the celebrity world, it's always the same narrative, right? Like, oh my God, Beyonce, Shakira, like they're so gorgeous. How could
Diana,
anyone
yeah.
cheat on them? It's never that they're they're not pretty enough or they're not perfect enough. It's usually because there's some itch that needs to be scratched, whether it's, remember when Jeff Bezos, his text messages with Lauren Sanchez were
Oh my
leaked?
gosh. Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how alive she was. And this was always fascinating to me because he ended up with Mackenzie Scott, now Mackenzie Bezos, and I think now back to Mackenzie Scott. And she's very tall, thin, waspy, intelligent. They started Amazon together, went to, I don't know, some great school. But he then starts texting Lauren Sanchez, and his text messages were, "You're so alive, girl. I want to love you alive, girl." So this idea of, oh, I've been so buttoned up trying to fit in with all the rich people. I want this young, fresh, exciting. So it's usually you're trying to find something that you can't with the person that, I don't know, you were previously involved in.
Can you imagine Rose Hambury, though, pegging?
That's
what's hard
she
to
seems
imagine.
Buttoned up to me.
But here's the thing. On the other hand, if you know anything about the Hamburys, that's a wild effing family. They were throwing some crazy ass parties out in the countryside. There was some crazy stuff happening over there. And then there was a weird thing where her sister was dating an old dude, and then there's a weird thing going on with dating, and I don't know. It's kind of a wild family. So perhaps underneath it all, it's a little crazier.
Credence or grace given to the royals, even in the language we use, right? So when you guys were talking about how they Photoshop, you're like, well, the royals want things to look more polished. Mm-hmm. That's what they say. But when the Kardashians Photoshop, it's because they're vain and narcissistic. But for the royals, we say it's because they're polished. So this idea of everyone being so buttoned up, even though Prince Andrew was full on having underage pedophile orgies with Jeffrey Epstein, we still use these words to describe the royals as buttoned up. They can't peg. Look at the beautiful headpiece she had on at the wedding. And it's like, these people are human. They probably get into deviant stuff. They probably take nasty, wet shits and, have to use a royal bidet. And then maybe they have a strap and they put it on. Who knows? I think it's done on purpose to paint themselves.
She just seems so frail.
Rose, you mean?
I would just expect a hardier woman. Although, with this all said, she did the mental image. So she did marry David Rock Savage in a very quick marriage because she was
almost
pregnant.
A shotgun wedding, I think.
Because she was pregnant with twins.
Mm-hmm. But there have also been lavender marriage accusations.
Yes, because he is a much older man who was expected. Why aren't you married yet, David?
Confirmed bachelor is how they politely say it.
And he was spending a lot of time, I think, was it the French Riviera with a man? And so there have been discussions around David Rock Savage, her husband, as well. But I also am now wondering, who was the other woman that was mentioned?
The last woman.
The last woman.
Where it got emotional.
I don't remember affair rumors about another woman before Rose. Maybe there are, though, and I don't remember.
Although there are those pictures of William where he was in the Swiss Alps, and what did they say about there were pictures of him dancing with other girls, and they said that one, was it slut dropped on him? Was that the word they used?
Oh, was it when you would booty drop? I remember that's when you turn around.
I forget what they said. It was a weird
it's
term.
Jersey turnpiking where I'm
but I don't know if that necessarily is an emotional affair.
Hold on. Prince William.
I think it was slut
Swiss
drop.
Alps slut drop. This is
We're
a great.
Have to put a content warning on this.
Remember,
we don't always.
Prince William dirty dances with two beauties, gyrates as model slut drops.
Slut drops. I knew I wasn't.
And puts hand on woman's waist in new embarrassing footage during lad's ski holiday. This was
2018.
This is March 17. This is before William's elder statesman turn. Oh, it was with it was believed to be an Aussie model.
Yeah.
Oh, he's wearing an unfortunate hat.
The classic gossip on William is that this happens and the palace kind of scrubs all the photos, make sure that they get every little thing that could possibly incriminate Prince William. And farther back, when he and Harry were clubbing, they would just let Harry kind of be the center of attention, even though William was allegedly getting up to all the same things.
Well, do you want to hear 2 blind items of alleged celebrities that Prince William has hooked up with?
Yes.
Allegedly.
Okay, so these are 2 alleged ones. This is all alleged.
Alleged.
A-list actor-director, maybe Ben Affleck, said that when he hooked up with this at the time 18-year-old singer, Britney Spears, she told him she had hooked up with the current heir. That could have only happened when the singer was not 18 because the actor had sex with her hours after she turned 18. So an allegation that allegedly Britney Spears said that she hooked up with Prince William. What do you think of that?
Are they the same age? That's my question.
I think they're the same age.
Prince William.
I'm almost positive.
So he's 42.
42.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's
43, so she's a year older than him. So they both would have been
underage.
Was this before or after she started adopting a British accent in some of her songs? Did she get that from Prince William, allegedly?
I'm going to have to dive into that because I think that could be a fun rabbit hole to go down.
See?
And also, just to say, in the UK, I believe the age of consent is 16, not 18.
You want a hot body?
Yeah, also, I'm like, if you're both, if you're 16,
both
17,
kids.
like, it's really not that.
And that's what people like to say in Prince Andrew's defense.
Yes, seriously.
About Virginia Giuffre.
Right. Well, she's
rest in peace.
Overage in the UK. Yeah, it doesn't
I'm like,
really work in that
not great.
instance.
Still not great.
But it does make sense to think, Prince William at the time would have been everyone's royal celebrity crush, right? Britney Spears at the time.
Number 1.
Top of her game.
Yeah.
Top of her game. You're telling me she didn't at least try to pull some strings to take her out, see if she would slut drop on him? I don't know.
Oh yeah. You're hoping for a slut drop or a Jersey Turnpike.
I could see it being true. Now, the next one says, who knows? But they say, the same person who was behind the leak about the heir and his affair, allegedly William and Rose, is now telling the media about a certain weekend 5 years ago. I don't know when this was written, but I don't know when 5 years ago would have been, when the heir and this foreign-born A-B+ list actress, allegedly Sienna Miller, had a fling with the heir. I get the feeling that the illiterate one, Meghan Markle, was just recently told this, or it would have been leaked long before now through the conduit. The actress has never been known for her fidelity, and apparently the heir should not be either. So William and Sienna Miller.
Interesting. That's an interesting pairing.
2 blondes.
2 blondes.
Oh my God, is he blonde? I've just thought of him as bald for so long that,
I think he was blonde.
He was
originally.
kind of a dirty blonde. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's interesting that he allegedly went for 2 blondes.
And I also find it so amusing whenever we have A-/B+. Who makes these lists? Who is determining
Who decides
where in the rankings?
There was this huge curse scuffle over it because I think Dumois put out a blind item that was about Jonah Hill and they said he was B+ list and I don't know, something like that. And everybody was like, he is not
B-.
Yeah, some people were like, he must be A. Some people were like, he must not. I have no idea. I know who A-list is. That's your parents probably know who they are. D-list is reality. And then B is probably Ian Somerhalder or Penn Badgley. Used to be a big deal, but not so much anymore.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And of course, Meghan Markle is a Z-list actress, as we all know.
I would like to propose a theory. I would like to propose that actually, allegedly, it is Kate that leaked the pegging rumors.
Ooh.
And this is why. Because the blind item paints Kate in a really good light.
Yeah, she's so understanding.
Because, first of all, she is so freaking cool. She is so cool with it. And she is totally okay with it happening, but also she's too old-fashioned, but in the world of royals, that's kind of a good thing to be old-fashioned, and
especially because she rose up from the middle class.
Yeah, so the idea that she is too old-fashioned is kind of a compliment. So I don't know. That's an
interesting theory.
That is my blind item.
I'm a cool girl. I let my husband get pegged, but I'm also
I'm not like all
girl.
the other moms.
Yeah,
I'm a cool mom. Allegedly.
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of Kate, do you have any favorite blind items pertaining to the current Princess of Wales?
Let's see. Obviously a few that like there's tension with her and Meghan Markle, that sometimes things with her and Will aren't great. There were 1.5 million blind items when she was like missing and
I'm
people
sure.
Oh God, do we know?
So, one was saying that she had a risky pregnancy, so there was an emergency surgery that was needed. There were blind items saying that Meghan Markle was pushing rumors that she's an alcoholic and that's why she needed surgery. There were rumors saying that she was using this as a bartering chip, like, I'm not going to be out in public until you stop having an affair with Rose. That was like
That
a
was the
big
biggest
one.
one I think I heard. Yeah.
And then there was one, let me see what it was. They did really honestly kind of paint her in a good light, and they do fall into the Meghan Markle propaganda. There was one saying that like Meghan Markle gave Kate Middleton knives for Christmas and that's bad luck. And that was how I found out that that could even be bad. I've given and gotten so many knives. So they always do paint her in a very victim-y, beautiful light in the blind items, which is crazy because they're blind items.
Right. There is a very anti-Meghan flavor in a lot of them, especially just calling her the illiterate one. It's a-literate, like Meghan Markle,
Yeah.
but like you say it out loud and it's illiterate, basically.
Well, I will say they do that for everyone, like Carly Kloss or similar ones. But anytime I do say it on the podcast, people are like, "What do you mean she can't read? Is this a Leah Michelle thing?" And I'm like, "No, it's
although
like,
Leah Michelle stole the cards from in some interview that she was on to prove that she can read.
Yeah,
good for you.
Or
Leah.
was that scripted?
or was that planned?
Oh my God!
Allegedly.
I remember when Kate was quote unquote missing too. There was a rumor. I don't know if it made it to blind item land, but the rumor that she was getting treatment in the U.S. was so pervasive.
That was a big one too.
And the palace even came out and denied it in like a very under the radar like statement that they gave to a local paper in Houston. But I had people in my DMs saying like, "Oh, I saw her," or "My friend works there and she saw her at Houston MD," right? Or is that
it's MD Anderson,
MD
right?
Anderson, MD Anderson, yeah. So it's just fascinating what gets onto these platforms, and
I still think that was so weird. And in our episode that we did on Fluently Forward about Meghan Markle, I think I said that, and somebody in the comments was like, "Yeah, but like you need to take time to tell your kids." And it's like, if she was so unwell that she couldn't be seen in public, then she probably wasn't seeing her kids either. So they would have known something was up. I just think that whole situation, like, maybe we'll find out later. I think it's a yes and situation. Like, yes, she was struggling with her health, and there had to have been something else because that was so freaking weird.
Yeah, the unconfirmed, explanation I've heard from a couple places now is that Charles and Kate both have been more sick than we know for longer than we've known. And there's no real way to confirm that. We'll never really get an answer on it.
You hear about Biden's aggressive cancer that
thing.
and it's like, well, he definitely probably had people knew about this before they announced it to the public. So I think this is way more common than
Yeah, it's hard to tell like when anyone would have known about it. I also think with the Kate situation, what we've seen with Charles is that if your comms team is ready and agile and gives just enough information, it actually ends up being because we don't know what Charles has. We don't actually know what his treatment is. We don't know if he's had chemo. And meanwhile, we've had to debate what is preventative chemo. What does that mean? How long would one have that? Did she have cancer? Did she have precancerous cells? They have done such a bad job, the team, not Kate, just the team, in managing this crisis. And that's honestly been, I think that is like the strangest part of this and the biggest failure. And I just think one day I'm just hoping we get the whole story on what the heck happened here, especially behind the scenes with the PR and the columns, because I think it's batshit.
I think if anything, her team and the Kensington Palace comms team, let's be specific, would benefit from like reading the blind items. I feel like they think that's probably beneath them, but I think they don't understand how batshit crazy and how, what's the word I want? Like incisive at the same time some of these theories can be. Because what you were saying, like they paint Kate in a good light, even though they're kind of out there. I think there needs to be a realignment at the palace, trying to understand like where the needle is in public opinion and how people are engaging with the royals as celebrities.
And outside of the royal bubble, because I think part of the problem is, from what I've heard, royal reporters within the royal bubble, the royal rota, did not know what was going on. Like no one knew what was going on. And there's a certain you do not press, right? And I think the palace kind of forgot that there's a whole world out there that when they found out that no one has seen or heard from the Princess of Wales and the last one was Diana, that maybe things would take off and that they're not as beholden to the palace for access, that they don't care. And I think they all forgot about that. Like there's a certain amount of hubris of just like, well, no one's going to question us. Well, yeah.
Well, there was a video of Prince William like arriving to an event while Kate Middleton was quote unquote missing. And the press pool is just silent. There's no questions being shouted. It's just cameras going off and like polite little, how are you doing, sir? It's just, so boring. In the US, you would have questions being yelled at him. Like, did you kill your wife, Prince William? You know, I just think, to your point, Meredith, they do forget there's a whole world out there and a whole media landscape that is like outside of the royal bubble.
And also, I think that people are a lot more savvy and like investigative than they have been in the past, probably because there's this point of, you know, are you buying what I'm selling? Like now that celebrities are, you know, they have merch lines and things that you can buy and you can follow them with the press of a button. It's kind of like give a little, get a little. It kind of feels that way. So when they say, for example, Meghan Markle say that you didn't Google him, well, people are going to circle around that like vultures because they're not that stupid. Or when Hailey Bieber posts a TikTok that has kind of like a snarky voiceover or whatever, people are going to think that that's about Selena. So you just have to do the online work of saying, if this happens, how could it be interpreted in like XYZ way? And it's crazy to me that they don't do that because people are getting smarter, but people are also masses and they're very easy to manipulate, especially when you have bot teams at your service. And I think every celebrity is using that. So the royal family, like, they're either just incredibly stupid or dense, or maybe it's hubris, like not to be so negative, but my God, is it really that hard? Like spend some money on a bot team and fix this, but they just don't.
I think they do have bot teams, but the bot teams are busy hyping up Kate under every single Instagram post. That's where I see them, because there was also some evidence back when Meghan and Harry joined Instagram and they were quickly accumulating followers. They were like approaching 1 million or 2 million or whatever. And like Will and Kate's following would then jump to catch up. And it was like this very tit for tat, like escalation of followers. So I think that bots are being used in the palace, but probably not in the best possible way.
Yeah, because I guess too, like when Kate was missing, there's no amount of bots. Like people just needed to see a photo of her or her out.
Well, and you can always tell when it's a allegedly palace bot, because they'll be like, how dare you? That is our beautiful Princess of Wales and she doesn't need to, she's above all of this, blah, blah. And it's just like, no one talks like that. I would hope.
No.
Yeah. Let's
or
get
it's like
slut drop back into the vocab. That's what we're working with.
I would like more slut drop. Okay. I have to know, what is the craziest blind item related to Meghan that you've heard? I know. I'm sorry. I'm really opening
the craziest one. I mean, obviously they spin a lot of this narrative that she met Prince Harry yachting, which is like the term for escorting, basically, and that she, you know, was like hooking up with him and then kind of sunk her talons into him in such a manipulative way. They say that she did a lot of work putting some of the nastier stuff into his book or encouraging him to like spill some of those rumors. There was, this is more Prince Harry, but I love the blind item saying that him and Adele have like hooked up before. I just find that so fascinating. Some of these too, they try to paint her out to be a diva, like saying that the ginger-haired one, aka Prince Harry, was spending upwards of $40,000 per month on travel for the illiterate one when they were dating because she needed first class for the every 2-week trip. And it's like, okay, who gives a rip? At least it's not a private plane. Like, is it really? Anyway. So a lot of ones about that. Prince Harry is sneaking cigarettes because he's too afraid to tell Meghan Markle. They always paint him as such like a no nuts type of victim. This was a really interesting one that I could believe. This has less to do with her and Harry, but it was alleging that back when this former late night SNL actor, Jason Sudeikis, was in the middle of a divorce, shortly thereafter, there was a pilot, Suits, being filmed in New York City. Our former late night actor knew the writer and the producers really well and went one day to watch the shoot. The next thing you know, he is there every day and dating this pretty unknown actress, Meghan Markle. It was very hot and heavy, and the only reason they didn't end up together is because after the pilot, the rest of the shooting took place north of the border in Canada, and the actor started dating Olivia Wilde. And that's just something I always find fun. Like if Suits had stayed in New York, would Jason Sudeikis and Meghan Markle have gotten married?
Oh my gosh. And then we would never know about Olivia Wilde's special salad dressing.
We would never
Allegedly.
know. We would have never gotten the controversy of
Wow.
what was
the
her
world
movie?
would be so
what was her what was
different.
her movie that she
Don't
did?
Worry, Darling.
Don't Worry,
Like
Darling.
Harry Styles spitting on Chris Pine. That never would have happened.
None of that would have happened.
Yeah.
And what kind of world would we live in then?
There was a
Wow.
blind item too. You know how Bethany Frankel has it out for Meghan Markle? Like
Yeah.
she's
Oh my
always saying
God.
nasty things about her. Well, this says former housewife has a lot of hostility towards the illiterate one, but fails to mention that the illiterate one's ex-husband turned down the housewife cold, and she has been on a mission ever since to take down anyone and everyone near him. So allegedly, Meghan Markle's ex-husband didn't want to hook up with Bethany Frankel, and she got pissed about it. So that's why she's so against Meghan Markle.
Well,
Bethany Frankel.
I don't know a lot about Meghan's first marriage. Maybe that's a blind spot that I should rectify. I believe he was also like a producer in Hollywood too. So like it could be wrapped up in business dealings too.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe she wanted
Yeah,
some sort
that's
of
true.
spin-off and he didn't do it or something.
I don't know. Fascinating.
The only last one is just that there are, of course, so many blind items on Prince Andrew. And I find it crazy that it's like, it's almost this rule of, I think people say when they talk about Donald Trump, like he said so many horrible things that nothing gets picked up anymore. But if, of course, Kamala Harris were to say something negative, it would be like the story heard around the world. And I just feel like that's true with Prince Andrew. Like, do you think that there's tension between the girls? I do think that affairs happen. But the fact that Prince Andrew, we've seen Ghislaine and Jeffrey at like the Queen's cabin and like invited to the palace and going on all of these trips. And I just find
what
it
else
wild
is there to say?
that it's been like brushed under the rug. I think what's there to say is that there's this perpetual, habit and structure of covering things up and not even punishing people for the things that they've done wrong. But if you are somebody who speaks out against Prince Andrew, I remember there was some parade where a guy like yelled something at him and that guy was like heavily reprimanded or had to pay a fine or something like that. And I just find that absolutely insane. I know a lot of people don't like talking about the Epstein stuff because it gets so close to QAnon, but I feel like that's doing all the victims such a disservice because just because there's some crazy people online doesn't mean that like princes and presidents and politicians were all hanging out with this guy. The way they covered it up so quickly, and instead we focus on what's going on with the girls and how catty are they being. It's sad to me that we're able to fall for that so easily.
Prince Andrew gets protected by the royal family because he knows where the bodies are buried, and he was a key reason that Charles was able to get his mother to get rid of her private secretary, her second to last one, before she brought in Sir Edward Young, who was the second in command, who was the bee in Prince Harry's book Spare, who was really seen as not handling the transition of Harry and Meghan well and the exit and being more malleable for Charles and stuff like that. And Prince Andrew has always been the weak spot for Queen Elizabeth. And for that reason, no one is going to handle Prince Andrew the way he should be.
Right.
Yeah.
Out on his ass.
Nope.
But you
Still
know what?
squatting in that royal lodge.
It would be nice. Like, let's say Prince William takes over and he's like, my first act is throwing Prince Andrew in jail. Like, maybe that's a little shake-up that they need.
So hot. It would be so hot.
I would want to slut drop on that guy.
This is what I think is going to happen. We are going to get reports say that Prince William has given a strongly issued warning to Andrew. Get out of the Royal Lodge by 2035 or else. It's going to be something like that. Rumor is, or it appears that Prince William, I think it's going to be a lot of that kind of
Taking
stuff.
a harder line than his father,
But it's not like gonna be a hard line.
Well, because when Prince Andrew is out, like he's gonna do interviews, he's gonna write a book. Like you said, Meredith, he knows where the bodies are buried.
It's gonna be a pain in the ass. He's
That's
gonna
why they
burn
should
it
just
all down.
kill him. Like, if you did it to Epstein, surely you could do it to him too. But I'm just brainstorming.
I don't believe they orchestrated Princess Diana's death because what you just said, like if they had this in their back pocket,
surely you could have taken out the more problematic people and not the people's princess.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And I also wonder in terms of like needing these, listen, the bench is real light when it comes to other supporting royals right now. You kind of need Eugenie and Beatrice, and I don't really know where they stand with their father and
Sarah
or their relationship with the crown or whatever.
Done some work because my sister-in-law works for NACOSI, the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, and they've done some work at conferences.
I
pages that are
Yeah.
very like, we want to support victims, blah, blah, blah. So I feel like that's a way to kind of say that you're against it without having to
also,
say it.
good marketing as well, unfortunately. Good PR. But I do wonder how much William wants to be, there's this line of like, God, hate your father, love you guys. But also wanting Eugenie and Beatrice are good ones to have around to bring out as the younger generation of royals. So I don't know how you do that. Like, hey, your dad's kind of a dick, but also like kind of need you guys around to like do like the garden party and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So family, who doesn't have these
family togetherness? Oh my God. Well, this was an amazing introduction to the landscape of royal blind items. Shannon, you get into these blinds on your own podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on. I host Fluently Forward. We have episodes every Monday, sometimes Wednesday, and then on Patreon on Fridays. And we cover deep dives on celebrities and what the blind items say and who they dated. We also do trending topics. We dive into like the rumors behind TV shows and movies and who got along with who. So it's always fun, just kind of fun little junk food topics that I like to cover.
If you ever want to do a Fleetwood Mac one.
Ooh.
Oh, I know nothing about it, so I'll have to let you know.
Oh, I am here for you, because let me tell you.
I know there was tons of drama with them. I just haven't dug into it.
Listen, cocaine's one hell of a drug is all I'm going to say.
Yeah. We could do a cocaine series, Charlie Sheen, Fleetwood Mac, The Weeknd.
Fleetwood Mac Rumors is the best soap opera that's ever been written. It's fantastic. There's a reason a Gemini and a Libra do not date.
Yeah.
Okay.
Too much air.
Stevie Nicks and Lindsay Buckingham. But seriously, your show's amazing. Everyone should go check it out. And we'll have it in the show notes.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Well, we hope you enjoyed that as much as we did. Remember, us discussing a rumor does not mean we are endorsing it or saying it's absolutely true. We just know this stuff is out there, and outside the royal sphere, nobody has any qualms about discussing this gossip or blind item or whatever it is. So that's how the sausage gets made. I don't want that to be my new catchphrase, actually.
Oh my God. Why do you keep attacking Charles?
No.
Tom Sykes is going to write an article about this.
Okay. I hope Tom Sykes is listening, because
we're going to find other...
Tom Sykes, come on the podcast.
Listen, message us other phrases that Amanda can use besides how the sausage gets made.
I think this is 4 weeks in a row.
It's okay. In the meantime, be sure to follow, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review if you can. Remember, we're not an Arby's. You don't have to leave your order or your critiques about Meghan and Harry having
Harry and
titles.
Meghan are not a podcast review.
Please, and if you'd
if
you'd like to leave that information, just give a 5-star review along with it. Okay, that would be great. Okay, have your stars reflect that. I almost started singing "Stars" from Les Mis, but
if the
resisted.
Podcast got you thinking, then I think you should give it 5 stars.
Yeah.
And leave your actual thinking thoughts in the comments on Instagram at offwiththeirheadlines. You could join the Patreon as a free member to hop in one of the conversations
so many
there.
Healthy ways.
A review
to
is
share
not a comment box about the subject matter.
There are better ways to have these conversations. And remember, too, if you want to watch the videos 1 week later for free, they are over on our YouTube at Off With Their Headlines. Until next time,
stay classy. No. How the sausage...
God damn, we never remember how to end this. Until next time, keep twerking.
Ooh,
1,
keep
2,
slut dropping.
3, 4. Been pregnant for way too long. Girl, I couldn't even bend down to pick something up when I was pregnant. That's what happens when you don't have a yoga teacher as a mom. Good enough.
Cut it there.